Hi, welcome listeners. This is Chris Salem, your host of Business Influencers with TALRadio. Want to wish everybody, hope everyone's having a great week. Again, the show continues to grow in size in terms of you being here each and every week joining us. And we highly encourage you again to continue to keep sharing the show. And our part of the deal is that we will continue to bring in subject matter experts that will share their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate your business and personal brand to the next level. Influence is everything. It empowers people to step up and do their part to have better experiences. So feel free to send us any content that you have not heard here on the show before to chris@christophersalem.com. That's chris@christophersalem.com. And again, if you are new to the show, you found us here at TALRadio for Touch of Life Foundation. You could also find us on Apple, Spotify, and our YouTube channel as well. So that way you have an audio version as well as a video version. Our show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types, an opportunity to either meet new people for the first time or rekindle those old relationships. It is a membership program, meaning it takes all the noise out of social media, but now you can come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships on your time, getting to share what types of content that best resonate with you. If you'd like more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a fantastic show for you today. We're going to be talking about crafting resilience through collaboration. And we are here with Zelle Nelson and Maureen McCarthy. And we're just going to give you a little background about both of them. Facing a terminal diagnosis from a rare genetic lung disease, Maureen, alongside partner Zelle, co-founders of the Center for Collaborative Awareness, challenged and have refined resilience and collaboration using a pioneer brain-based approach. They developed the blueprint of We, a revolutionary tool now utilized in over 100 countries to reshape relationship design across diverse landscapes, from corporate settings to personal interactions. Their innovative collaborative brain toolkit harnesses the neural circuitry of social connections to transform group stress into trust, facilitating resilience in fast-paced environments. The powerful suite of tools not only upgrades brain function from protection to connection, but also proposes a new human interaction model that transcends traditional problem solving. Teaching organizations from Dropbox to the World Relief Organization, Maureen and Zelle have become pivotal in guiding companies to navigate change, build trust, and foster innovation. Their journey reflects their teachings, creating a legacy of strategic resilience and insight relationship design. And without further ado, we welcome both Zelle and Maureen to the show. How you doing today?
Good. How are you, Chris?
Well, we are so happy to have you, and we are so looking forward to this conversation here. That's what we like to do here, and just get to share. And let's just talk a little bit about the backstory behind this blueprint of
Sure.
We. A little bit more. I know more, Maureen, on your side, and love to from how both you and Zelle have really taken something that could be, a major challenge,
Right.
in your life, and turned it into an opportunity to help others while you're helping yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such an interesting story, Chris, because I have this genetic lung disease. It's only in women, it's hormonal, and most people are dead in 10 years. And I met Zelle the year of my 10-year mark, where all my doctors are saying, get your affairs in order, like any day now kind of thing. I only have 10% lung capacity now. I've been on oxygen for 20 years. I've lived 35 years now.
Oh my God.
Way past the 10. So I'm one of the longest living people with this disease ever. And it's an interesting perspective to meet someone and be really interested in them and know you have to tell them, hey, I could be dying any day.
We don't know what the future holds. We don't know how we're going to do this. Everything we had to look at our parents or our culture didn't give us any idea of how to engage in this new landscape.
So it was an interesting time of several factors, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of chaos, a lot of unknown. I went 7 years with this disease before they diagnosed it. So everything was just up in the air.
Wow.
So
unknown for all that time. That's amazing.
Yes.
My wife is going through a similar situation, except
Really?
not, I don't know if not life-threatening, of course, but with neuropathy, pain that and nobody can explain what's going on.
Yes. which seems more and more common today, right? But it's what it does to your brain when you feel uncertain is fascinating. Because our brains are meaning-making machines, they project into the future all the scenarios which generally aren't good. And then you get a bunch of people around you who love you, but they get worried about you. So then their anxiety also is part of your anxiety. So there was just so many moving pieces of being uncertain, it's just the faster pace of trying to figure things out. How do I be in a relationship with someone who's new? Are they willing to stick it out to be whatever the heck this is?
And this was 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's
and
now 25
feel
years
the
later.
pace of today. It's just even more things are being thrown at us.
But we had this little mini cosmos of what we feel like the world is showing us today. So all those aspects of fast-paced chaos, uncertainty, anxiety, those feel like what we're all living today, right? There's so many more unknowns than we've ever had before. So in that space of all those unknowns, we realized one night, we're like, okay, we don't know what this is. We can't do the date, married, white picket fence. Yeah. So we had a conversation one night about what happens if we design this. We've got nothing else to go on in how this works. How do we design it ourselves? And after the conversation that night, I went home and I thought, lots of people would like to be in a great relationship during these uncertain times. But like, how do you do that? And so I sat down and wrote what are the 5 components of this collaboration process we created called the blueprint of we. It was like, we need to design this. This has to be custom designed for us, which is a very unknown concept. We design cars, we design the waste paper basket in our bathroom, we design a chair. No one ever teaches us how to design a relationship. We just kind of
I'll
fall
tell
into
you
it.
that.
Right? Right?
There's no
Yeah.
there's no manual they give you for that.
Yes, exactly.
So we got to create our own.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I figured out in that moment, like, all right, I need to know a bit about myself and write it down. I want to ask Zelle if he'll write a bit about who he is. And when I say who he is, or who I am, it's what do you look like in 2 sort of states to start off with? Like, who are you when you are having the most inflow, amazing day? You look like this, you talk like this, you act like this. I want to know who that is. Like, we don't have like the luxury of time to figure that out. Like, tell me whatever you want, no pressure, anything you want to tell me about what it looks like when you're having a good day. And then also, if there's anything I can do to support you in having more of those days, tell me. Like, I want to be all in to make that happen. On the flip side, this was very early on in our relationship. It was maybe 2 or 3 months in. And it was like, we hadn't had any big arguments or anything yet. And so the other thing is like, okay, now tell me what you look like when you're just under stress. We all have stressful behaviors.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right? That we pull out everywhere we go. There's nothing I was going to do with Zelle that I hadn't done in other relationships before, right? So the question is like, okay, what do you look like when you're stressed out? You act like this, you talk like this. You're trying to protect yourself. You're afraid of something, you're nervous, whatever the reasons are. We pull these ways of being out that we think are going to protect us, right? And so if he could tell me a little bit about what it looks like when he's calm, then I don't have to get freaked out when it shows up. It's like, oh, that's just like when I told Zelle about what I looked like, I was like, it was a crazy moment because I said, all right, so I wrote my half of this blueprint, the very first one we ever created, gave it to him, said, will you write your half? And then we'll design who we want to be together. Okay. So when I gave him my half, one of the things I said when I'm in stress is as soon as I'm in stress, I want to get out of the room. I'm like, give me the keys to the car even. I'd rather be gone than be in some big argument with somebody. And I said, I've done this with everybody in my life. Here's what it looks like. And I literally walked him through all the stages.
So it's not like Zelle, you were caught off guard or anything like that.
Well, exactly. And she went through it all. She's like, I'm going to slam the door in your face. I'm going to hope it like breaks off your arm. Like, we're going to really get into it. And we're laughing talking about it now, but like when it first happened that first time, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And my normal tendency would have been like, oh, let's give her space. Let me step back.
But the thing I actually asked for in the document was, okay, here's what it's going to look like. I'm going to look like I want nothing to do with you. But the thing I want more than anything is for someone to come and want to still be with me, even if I'm being
Open
at my
that door,
worst.
come sit down
Yeah.
next to me. And each stage I was like, oh, it doesn't look like she really wants me to open the door. She slammed it really hard, but she told me this. She gave me in what I like to call the what to do in case of fire manual. Like,
Yeah.
Maureen's
This
on
is like
fire.
this is truly like a proactive way to how to
Yeah.
respond rather
Yes.
than to react to the relationship situations.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And so we designed, it was hard the first time and it got easier and easier because it actually worked. I followed what she asked for and it was what she needed.
Hmm.
And we got through that first big argument and had a good connection and learned from it.
And he could have said to me, if you do that, there's no way I want to be anywhere near you. So, but if we're talking about this in a calm moment, not when it's already happened, he can say, like, all right, I want to be out when you do that. And we go, okay, so if you go out, what do we want to do to get back together? You start building what the bridges are when you have your whole brain accessible, not when you're in a space where like you're tunnel vision because you're mad or you're hurt or you're upset
Or
about
afraid
something.
of something.
And this
Yeah.
is true for every single relationship under the sun. I don't care if it's a teammate at work, your kid, a neighbor. It's literally the more people can have these kinds of conversations, if it's a relationship that's important enough, it's worthwhile. Which is why in the 100 some countries around the world that people are using it, it's every situation you can imagine. I'm renting my house out. I'm, doing a project with my best friend. Whatever the things are, when you can lay some things down about, hey, let me give you the files of who I am, so you don't have to make up what it means. And then, who's this us? What do we
Yes.
want to be? We need to design this us because we don't have the normal stuff, right?
I mean,
Well-
you walk into a relationship, there could be a billion other people on a planet that you're going into a business with or doing this project with. Like, who are they? Like, how will the two of you or the four of you or however big the group is,
Entire organization.
how will you come together and design who you're going to be based on who the people are, not based on some off-the-shelf idea of what you're supposed to do
Mhm.
in this situation?
And
Yeah.
it's pretty fascinating in so many of the organizations we work with around the world, how even really young people are still playing out legacy ideas of who you're supposed to be at work.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad sometimes that like we keep taking this old stuff that wasn't even great back when it was first designed, and they're still kind of pulling it off the shelf today. But this idea of designing who you are together, that's what collaborative awareness means. So people understand self-awareness now, like I know who I am, what I'm about. But we realized as we were going into organizations around the world, even before a lot of our tools were created, we realized that this idea of who we are together has never been, it's never had like a body to hold it. So I hold my own self-awareness, you hold yours. But if the three of us are working on a team together, where's the artifact of who we are together? And that's what this Blueprint of We collaboration document becomes. It's literally a written document that it's literally an entire organizations use it, couples use it, families use it, boards of directors, teams, whatever it might be. But what you're doing is you're creating an artifact of all the wisdom, what you know, what your agreements are, your roles, your responsibilities, who you are when you show up together. And you're designing that through the lens of, what do we want this thing to feel like? What do we value? What do we care about? What matters to us? If we're not designing for that, we're not going to see it or experience it. And it changes everything.
Yeah, I agree. And what I'm hearing, because I know this area, and Zelle and I have talked before about this. And it's not just talking about it. It's not just verbal communication. It's you're writing it down. And a lot of times when you can see it, when it's outside of your head, you can now you just don't see it from how you would like it to be.
Right.
Because we all have personal opinions and observations, but now you can look at it for what it is, like if it were a third party looking at it. So you can look at it in a different way and be open to change or open to these
upgrading it. Yeah. I mean, because the document is an iterative process. It's not a one and done and you throw it in the drawer. The one that Zelle and I created 25 years ago looks completely different than who we are today and our blueprint today.
Mhm.
Because over the years, we use what we call look back learning, which is kind of like post-game analysis. When we have a really great experience or when we have a really stressful time, we pull up our blueprint. We're like, what have we learned from that? What do we know? Like take a look back and add some more. Like we had a really good stretch of something there, or this really great day. Let's write it in there to make sure we're designing for more of that. Like
What
we're
were
just,
the elements? What were the qualities and things so that we can design for that?
yeah.
Mm.
And so looking at it is, even just looking at the historical, all the changes over the years, is the reasons why we're in have changed over time. Like you're not the same people as the years go on. So you keep having to ask yourself, like, why am I here? Why am I in? Why have I decided to be in this relationship container with him instead of just friends or whatever it might be? When you know why you're in and you're designing for more of what you want in that space, people become, they're willing to be more vulnerable, trust more, open their hearts more, be more understanding. I have so much more empathy for everyone in the world because I've done this. I mean, the blueprint is actually our contracting process as well. So we use this with all our clients as a traditional contract. And it's been fascinating over time. I mean, it's being taught in a couple of law schools. There are lawyers, mediators, judges that are using it, believing in it, say
That's
that it can
great.
stand up just as much in the court of law as any traditional contract. But you have the people plus the agreements together in the document, which is really, it's really what makes, like a team is going to stress out, not generally because of, outside influences. It's mostly because the people aren't in flow. Like, how do you keep paying attention to that? It's not hard. It's actually easy when you just stop and say, what is it that we're looking for? We've got to design for that. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's really fun.
It's amazing what you both have done, and it's so innovative, and it's not like it from what you've shared, and I already had obviously talking to Zelle before you've been on the show here. It's very proactive, and it seems like it's designed to, again, you're out to you create solutions. It's not something easy to do, like, but it's designed to create solutions and not manage the problem, like just everything else that's out there, and how it is with relationships in general.
Well, here's one of the interesting things. What I realized most, like meeting Zelle the year I was going to die, is I have massive amounts of pain every day, massive amounts of pain, side effects from my lung disease. And I realized the more my relationships were not really healthy and in flow, the higher my pain level was,
Yeah.
the worse my lungs felt like they were getting, all the side effects would get crazy. And I knew then, it's like, oh my God, the thing I need to do to stay alive is not even some medicine or anything. It's actually having healthy relationships. And one of the fascinating things, being on oxygen for 20 years, right, and having 10% lung capacity, my cardiologist says, I have the heart of someone 20 years younger than me who runs marathons. And maybe there's no real explanation for it, but I feel like because I've taken care of so many of the relationships in my life, be it clients or coworkers or my family, I actually have a calmer system. And my heart,
Your immune system's like really not, it's not taxed, and
yeah.
you've like you said, you've most people you said that would have this would have never have lived this long, and here you are.
Exactly.
You look, I mean, you both look great. I mean, I would, if you didn't share this with me, I would have never guessed in a million
Right,
years.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
it was looking at that, knowing, first of all, my brain has to be healthy. So we have this suite of tools that we call the Collaborative Brain Toolkit. And really, that's about three things. The first one is what we call Clear Mind. There's several tools that just help us individually and collectively upgrade the way our minds are working when we're interacting with other people. Because as soon as I start doing judgment instead of curiosity, or stress versus connection, like I'm changing everything that happens around me. My brain is the meaning maker of my life. And I can either have a really healthy brain that's processing things through the desire to connect, or processing things through my stress and my fear and disconnection. So the Clear Mind is really, those tools have literally saved me so many times.
And when we have something to build, it's really important that we have our full selves to engage and connect, to take advantage of the opportunities. I mean, there's a lot going on, and we need our full selves, and having a connected brain online is one of the key elements to having our full selves to design what we really need.
So our brains really have been made to do one of two things, or somewhere on the continuum of either connection or protection. It's why we've stayed alive, and it's why we've thrived as humans. And so we call that neural circuitry either the safety brain neural circuitry or connected brain neural circuitry. And the more that I can create those healthy connected brain circuits, like make them more alive instead of getting more tunnel vision protection, the better my life is, the better our business is. Just everything has a different life. I can't explain to you what a difference it is. And then, of course, there's the relationship design. But the third thing, and one of the things I'm really passionate about, is moving from this idea of problem solution thinking into what we call what does this make possible thinking. Our problem solution world has us scanning our landscape every day for problems. Like what's the problem? How am I going to fix it? How am I going to solve it? But we found with people, like I want problem solution thinking when my toaster's broken. But with people, if I sat you down and said, you're a problem, we really need to fix you. Who has more energy when they're labeled as a problem? But we use it with people just like we use it with fixing our cars.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole different way of feeding our connected brain neural circuitry that isn't looking at problem solution when people are involved. It's looking at the landscape for what is this exact thing, even though like my body, it's like World War III is happening. It's also looking at the landscape for what does this make possible? What can we design because this is where we are?
Yeah, I like the fact, yeah, it's not about the person. It's like isolating, okay, if there's an issue, maybe it's the behavior of that person. It's their attitude. It could be lack of action, whatever, whatever. Maybe they're not communicating effectively. So you address those areas.
Which is about
What
design.
can you both say, because this is so powerful when it comes to just, any kind of relationship, personal, and in any situation that somebody's going through. But let's just flip it on a business side, since the show's called Business Influencers. What would you say, like if I'm a business leader and I just don't have that engagement in the workplace, there's just a lot of gossiping, complaining, there's absenteeism, retention issues, how this can really begin to provide a blueprint of, where, that, we can move together in a way to reverse a lot of those issues.
Well, business is our playground. Like we get asked on the personal side, but our true passion is organizations and how we design teams or how a leader can have a perspective that is more about what does this make possible. The idea that a group can get together and upgrade their brains together is fascinating. And the fact that as an entire organization, so we have whole organizations use the blueprint where every individual does what we call a blueprint of me.
Or a work with me doc.
Yeah, we call it the work with me doc. So this is just the doc of like, hey, here's how I work. This is what's important to me. Don't, email me after 10 p.m. I like to do my meetings in the morning. To here's what's really important to me. Here's how I show up. Here's what you can do if I'm having a good or a bad day. All of that is just an individual, like anybody. And these are never demands, they're invitations. So everybody does a blueprint of me. There's an entire directory of all the company's blueprints of me. Then you have team blueprints of we. So every team or project team or people that overlap in some way where that relationship matters to the work, you create a blueprint of we. And all of those can be accessible on the same page of their intranet. And now you get to see from any vantage point in the company, what's everybody doing? What are they working on? How are they connected? Oh, this person is doing this, or they're interested in this, or they show up like this. I should give them a call and connect over that. There's so many more connection points when you start seeing that. That's what builds the trust. Yes. Mistrust is about needing certainty that we can't always have. And the blueprint is about giving people clarity so that they can open up more and feel more confident and trustful of anybody and anything that's going on. You can ask more questions. You can be more curious.
And it's really fascinating when I can share who I am and I don't need to be changed or altered in some way. I get to show up and people can appreciate things about who I am and how I show up. And in that space, I start to be seen and I also start to see others. And that's where we build relationship and connection and trust. And from that place, when I'm in flow with somebody, I'm sure you've been in that situation many times, Chris, where it's, one and one make four. Like those are the things that's the relationship gold for organizations. Yeah. How do you build those into the system? And the blueprint structure and this web of being able to see people, maybe somebody you work with, once a year, you get to get a quick, understanding of who they are, how they show up. And hey, these are the things we're going to do together. And this is what we're going to build, rather than trying to figure out this dance or stepping on each other's toes in the in the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of these assumptions and speculation. I love this, and I know I wish we had another half an hour to talk. And you guys are definitely going to be invited to come back on a future show so we can continue this conversation or expand on it. And what I would say, because we're getting near the end of the show, I would love to make sure how the listeners and those that will be listening later, how can they get, learn more about the Blueprint of We, either both from a business perspective, a personal perspective, both,
Sure.
Because I know it applies to both. And, what would be the best way people could get in contact with you and anything you'd like to share with them?
Well, if they go to collaborativeawareness.com, they can learn about the whole suite of tools. And specifically for the Blueprint of We, if you click on that in the menu, there's several different templates for different types of relationships, design documents for people to start with. And then, having us do sometimes it's one-to-one or team to us doing coaching around getting started, helping them facilitate more depth to the document.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's really important for people to know is it is not a hard thing to do. It's really fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I mean, everybody,
That makes it easier.
Oh my
Yes.
God. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't have the energy to do anything that's hard. I just don't.
And that's the thing. You start with your 1.0 document and then you
Yeah.
grow it.
It's just a little bit at a time. It grows over time. And we do half day in person or virtual where an entire team or an entire organization can come together and get their 1.0 version done on that day. Like this doesn't have to take loads of time, but it's really interesting. The number of conversations that people tell us just change the way they do business. It's really cool.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time out of your day to be with us here today. And I'm looking forward to bringing both of you on for round 2 when we can have an opening for that. We highly encourage you all, the listeners right now, to reach out to both Zelle and Maureen about the Blueprint of We. This is a concept that can dramatically change your relationship, either in a personal or professional way. That information will be in the show notes as well. That way you can get in contact with them. And I personally want to thank you, both of you, for being here, not only on the behalf of myself, but also our team here at the Touch of Life Foundation.
Had a great time. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Can't wait to talk more.
Thank you so much. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to bringing subject matter experts such as Zelle and Maureen here each and every week to help raise your level of influence, both personal and professionally. Again, check us out here at the Touch of Life Foundation TALRadio, and also a video version on YouTube as well. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.